Welcome to Dr. Freedom, where we give you the strategies, mindset, and tactics on how to elevate your practice and your life. I'm Dr. Patel. I started my practice in a Starbucks over 7 years ago, and I built it brick by brick to a multi-location practice with an aesthetic OR and a software company. I'm here to give you the secrets to unlock that time and freedom for you. All right, so let's talk about biohacking and anti-aging. Since I'm a plastic surgeon, I'm pretty familiar with what's going on in this state and age of the actual process of what's researchally done and proven and what's not so proven in terms of what people are doing. So there are some common ways that people are doing biohacking right now. People talk about cold ice baths, right? So there's a whole market that's booming right now to say, hey, if you take a cold ice bath and you submerge yourself for a certain amount of time at a certain degree, then it will shock your body into a state of mental and physical health. Now, there can be some truth into it. There have been studies that show increased blood flow, circulation, and when you have that, it actually does spin up the brain, right? Because if you have more blood flow, you're providing more nutrients to that area to see, the functionality of it. Now, does it really help the synapses fire quicker? I don't know about that, right? I think the studies are still out to be done to say, hey, does your brain actually work faster? Or do certain areas of your brain get opened up to be used to actually do something creative in that state and phase? The one thing that we do know is that it will immediately snap your brain into a fight or flight kind of response because you're getting this cold therapy. It's going to your entire body and it's building up resilience, right? So I think the optimal time that they say to be submerged is between 3 and 4 minutes, and it's at the 43 degrees or so. Anything below that is not really going to do you probably any good in terms of the temperature. And anything longer is probably not going to do you any good in terms of the time point of other than burning more calories, right? Because as you shiver, that's one of the highest things that you can do to burn calories. And the longer you shiver in terms of an ice bath or a cold bath, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to burn those calories, but it's also sparking and waking up and stressing your system to a point, right? A lot of people think about the word stress and like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I'm stressed and this and that, whatever. In the human body, stress is necessity. That's how we build resilience. That's how we actually evolved as humans, right? When things got stressed in the system. You think about your muscles themselves. They're not going to build if they're not stressed. Right? If you only do 5-pound curls, you're not going to build any biceps. It's not going to happen. Yeah, you could do 1,000 reps and you might have the stamina to do that, but it's not going to actually cause the hypertrophy of the muscle to actually grow and build it to where you want it to be. So that's where it's like, doing weights and doing higher weights and higher reps to stress the actual muscle causes the growth of what you want. And that's the same thing in terms of the cold. The cold is stressing your entire body, the system of what it needs. Your body is going through this process to maintain and get ready as it's doing this process. The other part is, are you able to mentally stay in that mode? Can you let your body sit in that cold and fight through the pain? Separate the mind from the body, right? And they talk about this in a lot of the Western religions and spirituality and Buddhism and all this other stuff to say there's a disconnect. Your body is just a device, a tool, but your mind is actually what's controlling the body. It's not the other way around. So if you can dissociate your mind from what's going on with the body, can you have that mental mindset, right, that you're growing over that period of time that is going to create a chance for you not to give up on certain goals, certain aspirations, certain things that you do in your life because you've done the hard thing. And that's where some of this other cold plunge comes into the mentality and the physical part of it. The other interesting part of anti-aging that people are recently talking about is, what is the one thing that they found that allows us to live longer, right, in terms of anti-aging. And there are natural human mechanisms that actually have figured this part out to say, okay, these are the things that our body is adjusting and changing over a period of time to actually let us live longer. And there's been thousands of different studies in all shapes and ways to say these are the 9 different areas that can control how long a cell lives. Now, with that life cycle, what can actually happen, right? And what is the critical point that your body needs to get to? Well, the number one thing that they found in rats was starvation. Starving your body kicks it out of the lazy phase that it gets into because we have food and sustenance in a plethora. We have tons of it. We have access to it. We can buy it. We don't have to go hunt for it. We don't have to go fish for it. We don't have to do these other things that cavemen had to do, right? When they had to do that, that starvation put their body into a frame of actually cleaning all the different cells to maintain their genetic integrity. Now, if you have clean cells, they're going to age slower. They're going to last longer. Well, when you put your body in a state of starvation, that's exactly what your body goes to. It stops being lazy. It starts cleaning all the cells, and they're still working out the details to say, hey, how long does that have to be? Is it half a day? Is it 6 hours, 9 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours? What does that actually look like for me to periodically re-cleanse my body of anything that has, been caused from the duplications from each one of these cells to become lazy or not that genetic quality that is going to last the longest in terms of time? And that's one way of saying, okay, this is what we're going to focus on, and get into a habit of maybe possibly doing it once a week or once a month, which way, shape, or form that it fits in your lifestyle to say, this is what you can do. I mean, some of the Western countries do this once a week, right? To pick a certain day of the week, and this is what they do. It's like, a meatless Mondays, it's a starvation Saturdays or starvation Sundays, right? Whichever way that you want to do it, but that is going to allow you to functionally live longer in terms of the actual process of what that actual looks like to say, hey, what do I have to put my body through to stress it? Back to that first point of saying, hey, the cold plunge, it's going to stress the body. Starvation, another way to stress the body, right? And then in plastic surgery and in skincare and beauty and all the other stuff, the latest trend is talking about exosomes, right? How does that help rejuvenate some of the things that are in our skin that go away over time, whether it's the elasticity, whether it's the collagen, whether it's the fat, all these little parts of it are degraded over time and the quality of them goes down. Well, what are the methods that we can do to rejuvenate them? And so one of the highly researched things right now, they're talking about stem cells and exosomes, right? And these are, parts of these cells that have certain characteristics to try to stimulate and regenerate, to turn on all the green lights to say, hey, we're going to stimulate new high quality substances for each one of these sectors and areas. And that's what's going to help rejuvenate the skin, the texture, the tone, the actual volume itself in that entire area that you're looking to regenerate and, in anti-aging. So that's the main pieces of it, right? The other parts, right, that have been done over the last about 20 to 30 years in terms of research to say, what piece can I actually control and do to make myself live the longest and be the healthiest, right? And they talk about gut health being super important to say, how does this all tie in of like, how is it like the statement, we are what we eat, right? We've all heard that statement. We are what we eat. Well, there's some truth to that in terms of the things that we put in our bodies, whether it's processed or non-processed, whether it has probiotics, prebiotics, or other things in it to help us with our digestion and then also maintain the life cycle of those cells, right? Our intestines, they're sloughing themselves every time that we're eating, and even when we're not eating, going through all the transitions to say how they're absorbing all the nutrients and all the other pieces, and then it comes out the other end and the other things that happen. When certain diets have changed, even from, infections that can cause terrible things to happen like colitis or anything like that, they found that the flora in your gut matters a lot. And it matters so much in terms of the food we eat. Well, the higher processed food we have, the less flora that it's actually in there because it's processed, and it doesn't give you those natural bacteria that you need to be able to do the next thing to actually protect your intestines and protect your body from all the other things that you can put in your body, right? All right, let's get to it. What does AddVital do for your aesthetic practice or med spa? Our current clients are making an extra $60,000 to $65,000 to their bottom line every month over month, because they're able to nurture their current patient base and also amplify their qualified leads. Now reach out to AddVital to learn more. I think everyone's seen, the whole thing of, Cristiano Ronaldo not drinking Cokes. He doesn't believe in them. He thinks that water is way better than Coke, and he puts it out there and he says, okay, this is what I do to maintain my body. And he's probably felt it. He's in tune. And that's the other thing is like, there are certain things, there's no one perfect thing for everyone. And it's going to come down to whether you know your body the best of saying, hey, I feel better or I don't feel better when I eat this, or is this a short term, I feel good right now, but I'm going to feel bad later, right? Which piece of it is it in terms of our diet and that nutrition to say, okay, what can we put in our bodies to live that certain way? I mean, in terms of the blue zones and the other things, the diet is one of the crucial things. The climate, the temperature, the other parts, right? These are all different areas. If you think they all come down to the same concept. What are the stressors that cause our bodies to survive the longest? How can we get our body to function for us versus against us? And how do we actually do the activities that create the body that we want and the body that feels good, right? Again, if we dissociate the mind from the body and say, hey, when the body is happy, the mind's happy, or when the mind's happy, the body's happy. And that's a close synapse between those two things to say, okay, what I put in me is going to directly affect of how I feel and how I act, because it also, we found that there's different foods that have different growth hormones or estrogens and testosterones and different things that can affect the entire cascade of what our body does in terms of a day in and day out, minute by minute change from either feeling good or feeling terrible, putting us prone to infections, putting us prone to viruses. There's that whole piece of it to say, okay, what can I do in terms of the genetics that I was born with to optimize each one of these things so I can live my best life? So I am not tired. I'm not fatigued. I have great endurance. I get to live the life I want. I do the activities I want to do. I'm able to do all of that because I look and feel the way that I want to. And that's all in the realm of anti-aging, right? People talk about, another thing of massages and cupping and increasing blood flow comes down to the same things. These stressors in aliquots to get your body accustomed to them causes it to protect itself and clean itself to have the cells that live the longest. And that is the takeaway point that I want you guys to have to say, hey, this is the piece of anti-aging. This is how it all wraps up into what I need to think about for my body. Am I getting the responses from each one of these things? Am I feeling a certain way? Is it better to keep a food diary? Is it better to keep an activity diary? How do I feel after the cold plunges? How do I feel after I go to the sauna, right? A sauna is the other thing to say, hey, there's a lot of Swedish studies that go from cold plunge to sauna to say, okay, well, I'm going to shock it in terms of the cold. I'm going to go to the sauna to regenerate some of the cells that are in my body in terms of the way it heats and the way that the fluid balance actually is in the body itself. And these are some of the big, critical things to say, what happens with these things? It's not just in the vitamins we take. A lot of people take these vitamins and they take all this stuff and they're like, okay, well, I take these vitamins, I should be good. We never know if the vitamins we take actually create the responses that we want them to, because we don't have a great way to measure them. In terms of in medicine, we do these laboratory factors and it does it on certain endpoints, but there are a ton of different little steps that it takes to get there. It's the same way as driving. You go down a bunch of different roads to end up at your destination. That's the same way these vitamins that we've been measuring over years now to say, okay, well, do I have enough vitamin B, B12? Do I have enough vitamin D, or is it D3? Or do I have enough vitamin C or zinc or magnesium? All these things come into a balance within our bodies, but my balance and your balance may be completely different. It may be different between men and women. It may be different between kids and older people. And so there's definitely some nuances in terms of saying, okay, what is the best regimen for me? And the only way to know is if you dial it in, do the testing, measure those things, so that way you can manage the results to say, all right, well, what can I do to solve this problem? Now that I know that I have this problem, what can I do? Is it diet? Is it exercise? Is it location? Is it locality? Is it climate? Is it cold plunges? Is it saunas? Is it which one of these is the answer? There's no end all be all to say, hey, this one magic thing is going to cause you to live forever. It's going to take away aging. It's going to take away all this other stuff. You see celebrities all across the stage. They're doing different treatments. They're doing different things, from radiofrequency microneedling to different skincare regimens to different little procedures in terms of buccal fat pad removal or other things to augment or to change certain things with their nose, their face, their bodies, liposuction, all these other different things. There's all these things that happen to say, okay, well, can I look and feel a certain way? But I think it comes down to the core to say, starting with the body as a whole, what do I need to do in terms of nutrition, mindset, right? In terms of that piece of it. And then how does that apply in terms of the activities that I'm going to do? I'm going to roll out from day to day, week to week, to get myself the best opportunity to have more energetic time. It's not just time. Some people talk about buying back their time and say, oh, well, I bought back my time. Oh, what are you doing with it? Well, I'm watching Netflix, or I'm laying on the couch, I'm doing this other stuff and whatever. It's not impactful or energetic time. Like, the real time that we want you to buy back essentially is the ones that you can spend with your family, your relationships, and things that are important to you to cross off your bucket list, things that will actually move the needle for you in terms of your goals, values, and the destination you want to reach. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Dr. Freedom Podcast. I hope you found some value in this podcast, and if you could hit the subscribe button and share with a friend if you found this content valuable.